Welcome to Echoes of Africa, where hidden stories, bold voices, and untold truths rise from the heart of the continent. Before you dive in, hit subscribe and turn on the bell, because every echo here reveals the Africa they don't want you to see.
Farmer Doug Corwin's family has been raising ducks on this Long Island farm for generations.
What does this farm mean to you?
Well, it's my life. It's my heritage. It's an icon of Long Island.
Breeding some of the most sought-after ducks in the world, supplying the best restaurants in the Northeast.
That farm is currently under quarantine.
But it all came crashing down 6 weeks ago.
We check these birds 3 times a day. Birds flock together, and all of a sudden I saw a series of dead ones.
Corwin's ducks tested positive for the bird flu.
I never saw anything quite like this. So quick, so fast. I knew that this meant everything would be gone.
That same day, he let go of 45 staff members.
I ranked that up with the death of my parents as the most devastating times of my life.
And then you had to euthanize.
Yes.
What was that like?
Sickening. Just a horrible, sickening, disgusting day after day feeling for about a week, until all of a sudden you have nothing left.
99,000 prize ducks, his entire flock gone, now decaying in a barn on his property. Corwin's ducks now among the more than 166 million birds culled because of the bird flu nationwide since 2022. This week, the Trump administration announced its strategy to deal with the crisis and bring down the price of eggs, dedicating $500 million to biosecurity and exploring a new vaccine, though stopping short of approving one. Corwin believes for his duck farm, a vaccine is the only way out of this crisis.
So is the government's billion-dollar strategy enough?
No. I know what our biosecurity is here, and I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's pretty darn good. This virus is so in the wildlife. It's so endemic. Without some type of viral protection, we're not going to get rid of this.
Corwin's last hope now, 3,700 ducklings hatched last week out of eggs laid before the outbreak on his farm.
Would this 140 acres be more valuable as property? I'm sure it would be. You know, I don't care to be rich. I just want to be a duck farmer.
Aaron McLaughlin, NBC News, Long Island, New York.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Across Africa's rice-growing regions, a quiet farming revolution began with a simple, unexpected idea. Ducks. Not machines, not chemicals, not billion-dollar innovations. Just thousands of quacking, waddling, hungry ducks marching into rice paddies like an organized biological army. What followed surprised researchers, impressed global agricultural experts, and caught the attention of farmers as far away as the United States. The story begins in rice belts of West Africa and East Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Tanzania, and Madagascar, where smallholder farmers constantly battled the same threats year after year: destructive pests, choking weeds, soil degradation, and rising fertilizer prices. Farm costs were rising faster than profits, and many rural communities struggled to keep yields high enough to sustain entire families. Farmers searched for alternatives that did not depend on expensive imported chemicals or machinery. Then came an idea borrowed from centuries-old Asian farming traditions, but rarely used at scale in Africa: the integrated rice duck method. It sounded almost unbelievable. Release ducks into flooded fields, and they take over essential work usually done by chemicals and tools. But when the first pilot programs began, the results stunned everyone involved. The ducks immediately began hunting insects, worm pests, leaf-eating bugs, and rice borers, reducing pest levels dramatically without a drop of pesticide. They devoured weeds before the weeds could choke the rice plants, eliminating the need for herbicides. As the ducks swam through the paddies, their webbed feet churned the soil, oxygenating the water and burying weed seeds deeper, preventing regrowth. Every movement they made contributed to healthier rice fields. The farmers also noticed something else. The ducks' droppings boosted soil nutrients more effectively than some synthetic fertilizers. Suddenly, fields that had struggled with soil exhaustion began producing stronger, greener, taller plants. Yields increased not gradually, but in massive, surprising jumps. Some communities reported 20 to 30% better harvests within a single season. For smallholder farmers operating on thin margins, That difference was life-changing. African agricultural institutes took notice. Agronomists documented the sharp rise in productivity, the dramatic fall in chemical use, and the near-zero ecological damage. Ducks were doing what fertilizers and pesticides tried to achieve, but naturally, sustainably, and at a fraction of the cost. Development organizations started promoting the method as a low-cost, high-impact breakthrough for rural economies. What happened next elevated the story from a local farming experiment to a global talking point. As videos and photos circulated online, thousands of ducks marching in rows through rice fields, international farming communities began to pay attention. In the United States, where industrial farming dominates and chemical dependence is high, some farmers and analysts expressed disbelief that something so simple could deliver such powerful results. In agricultural forums across the U.S., discussions began. Could ducks replace certain pesticides? Could biological farming methods reduce chemical resistance? Could American rice fields adopt an approach that originated in Africa and Asia? The questions reflected genuine curiosity, mixed with surprise that an approach so low-tech could scale into something so effective. Meanwhile, in Africa, the method spread faster than observers expected. Some regions organized coordinated duck releases, where hundreds of farmers brought their ducks into synchronized paddies at the start of the season. The sound of quacking became a symbol of a new era, an era where nature was not an obstacle, but a partner. The method also produced unexpected economic benefits. Farmers who raised ducks gained a new income stream from eggs and meat. Instead of buying costly chemical inputs, they generated revenue from their own livestock. Women and youth groups formed cooperative duck-rearing clusters, creating jobs and building new micro-industries around the practice. Environmental impacts were equally significant. Water contamination from pesticides dropped sharply. Beneficial insects returned. Soil health improved over multiple seasons. Many villages began to report cleaner wetland ecosystems and healthier fish populations. In a world grappling with the environmental cost of modern farming, African farmers were showcasing a model that combined productivity with sustainability. The approach also aligned perfectly with Africa's climate goals. It reduced emissions tied to fertilizer production, encouraged biodiversity, and helped farmers adapt to unpredictable climate conditions. Ducks are resilient, self-sufficient, and capable of thriving in outdoor environments where machinery cannot operate. By the time agricultural scientists from Europe and Asia toured African rice belts to study the system, it was clear that Africa wasn't just adopting an old method. It was leading a modern agricultural shift. This wasn't a novelty. It was a scalable, evidence-based strategy for boosting food security and rural livelihoods. In global agricultural media, headlines began highlighting Africa's success, not as a continent struggling with farming challenges, but as a continent pioneering sustainable solutions. The narrative changed. Africa became a source of innovation, inspiration, and practical wisdom. This shift caught many outsiders by surprise, particularly in regions accustomed to dominating global agricultural innovation. As the story spread further, analysts in the United States discussed the potential implications. If African farmers could achieve higher yields with lower costs and less chemical intervention, then global rice markets could face new competition. U.S. farmers, already dealing with rising input prices, began examining whether biological farming methods offered a competitive edge. Agricultural universities hosted seminars discussing Africa's results. Extension officers debated whether pilot programs could be launched in American rice-growing states like Arkansas, California, and Louisiana. Behind the scenes, some agricultural corporations quietly monitored the trend. If duck-integrated systems reduced chemical sales, long-term market shifts could follow. The idea that thousands of ducks could disrupt billion-dollar supply chains was both surprising and, to some analysts, unsettling. But for Africa, the success story was not about shaking global industries. It was about empowerment. It was about reclaiming control over food production, reducing dependence on imports, and proving that innovation doesn't always require high technology. Sometimes it requires understanding nature and using it wisely. Across villages, farmers celebrated harvests heavier than they had seen in years. Children watched the duck processions with excitement. Communities shared success stories with neighboring villages, inspiring more farmers to try the method. The movement grew organically, season by season, field by field. What happened when African farmers released thousands of ducks into rice fields wasn't magic. It was strategy. It was science, culture, ingenuity, and centuries-old knowledge applied at the right moment in history. It was Africa demonstrating that sustainable agriculture does not have to be expensive. It can be intelligent, simple, and deeply connected to the environment. Today, the ripple effect continues. African nations are training thousands of farmers in natural farming techniques. Universities are conducting new studies. Global institutions are watching closely. And through it all, ducks continue to march, quiet, determined, and effective, transforming rice fields into thriving ecosystems. The world is paying attention because the lesson is universal. Farming doesn't have to fight nature. It can work with it. And when it does, even the most unexpected ideas can inspire global change. You've been watching Echoes of Africa, where every story carries the sound of tomorrow. If this moved you, subscribe now, like, and share so Africa's voice never fades into silence.